Hello, I want to welcome you back to the podcast, What Are You Thinking? And this is my wife, Lynette. I'm Ron. We're your hosts today. And this is going to be, I think, one of my favorite shows ever.
Well, I know why it's going to be one of Ron's favorites, and I know I'm going to love it too, is one of our longtime dear friends, Pastor Adam Burt, who's not always been a pastor, actually had a long, great career in the NHL. He's here, and he brought a great new friend of ours from the New York Jets. If you're an NFL fan or you've got football interests at all, or if you're like me, who had no interest in the NFL until my husband, who I was dating, introduced me to Sunday night highlights.
It was a game
NFL.
changer. I mean, I'm telling you guys that those who want your wives to be NFL fans, you just have to give a little bit and tell a little bit of background. Oh, that guy, and he's married to this woman.
Yeah, all the personal stuff. But we're going to get personal today with one of the players of the New York Jets. Tony Adams is here. He's going to talk to us about how he came to do what he does. And of course, our friend Pastor Adam. So thank you guys for joining us.
Awesome.
Looking
Thanks
forward
for
to the
having us.
conversation.
And for the 3 NHL fans out there, we're glad you're tuning in.
All right, so NHL is National Hockey League. And so, Pastor Adam, you are a pastor also. But Adam, you have a background, of course, in hockey, and it took you to Canada when you were a young athlete. Totally, as a young man, as a teenager, you're already a professional hockey player. It's a pretty crazy story. Then they moved you to Canada, and you met somebody up there.
I did. I met my wife of 34 years. You know, but before we even get into it, I need to state the obvious. Is kind of like it's a natural trend progression, right? You go from playing in the NHL, fighting and beating people up, to being a pastor. So I just want to state the obvious.
Now you're being
to
beat
make
up.
yourself feel
It's
good.
not actually a normal progression. So but that's my story.
And I want to get into that because this is like an incredible story because I think it's almost extremely impossible to find somebody who played in the NHL, which is like a heavily European, Canadian, Western civilization, kind of blue collar white guys who were out there, beating each other up. And that's why I went to hockey games as a kid, is to watch fights, And so here you are.
Yeah. It was incredible. It was always like a lifelong dream, and never thought I would get there. It was funny. Like, I don't know how far we want to go into it, but I know it was funny early on. I was a terrible athlete, terrible hockey player. And the only reason I made my first team is because my old man was the coach. And I guess you can't cut your kid because he's not very good, But one thing my pops, he told me, he's like, hey, you kept falling down, but you always got back up.
Oh, there you go.
That was kind of my MO to kind of just eventually get there.
That's amazing. Well, that's the first lesson of this podcast right here is you can get up. And that in and of itself is a life lesson right there.
So you went from being a kid just getting started in hockey, and at 16, you're already going to Canada to really focus on this pursuit. What was going on through those years between when you started and when you really decided to when you got called to go to Canada? What was going on in your mind? Like, how were you beginning to train as a young athlete? What was happening in your life?
Yeah, I think TA will resonate with this. It's like, you start off in sports and stuff. It's just like, it's fun and you do it. It's a game. And then, but very early on, depending on how competitive you get, suddenly you realize, even as a young kid, okay, this is no longer just for fun. This might be something you do, and you start competing at different levels, and it no longer becomes like you do it, a quarter of the year, and now suddenly it's just a year-round endeavor. And it was actually very difficult because to go up and play in the Canadian Junior Leagues, you actually forfeit your NCAA eligibility.
Oh,
So you're 16 years old, you don't know, am I going to do it? And we just decided to go for it. And by the grace of God, it did work out. But you talk about thinking and stuff, though. I do think at the end of the day, the thing that just for me was my go-to is, man, to just keep getting up. I know I was going to work harder. I wasn't as talented as the other people, but I'm going to outwork you or die trying. And that was just kind of my MO. And by the grace of God, it all worked out. So I think this will kind of encapsulate kind of where my drive and discipline comes from is So it was the 2000 NHL playoffs. Pastor Ron's heard this story 8 million times. We'll just do it 8,000,001. And so
I love it.
But playing in the NHL playoffs, I was with the Philadelphia Flyers, and we were playing against the Pittsburgh Penguins. And it actually morphed into being the longest game ever in the NHL. The game started at 7 o'clock at night. It ended at 3:30 in the morning, and it was just it was epic. But if anyone's ever been to Philadelphia, they call it the city of brotherly love. I don't believe that's true, because I was terrified to screw up and make a mistake in Philly, because they'll just crucify you. And so anyways, the game goes on. And finally at 3:30 in the morning, our team captain, Keith Primo, went streaking down the wing, and he pulls up at the blue line, lets a shot go, and it hits the crossbar of the goalie's net. And it lets out this deafening ping. And the place just went silent, and the puck dropped over the goal line. We won. We lost our mind. It was amazing. And I've shared this with you, and Tia, you'll get this. It's like, if you've ever been an athlete and just poured everything you had into this one solitary moment, and then it happened, and there's a sense of soul satisfaction to that when you've left it all out there, and you can look your teammates in the eye and say, hey, I left it all on the ice for you. And in a very real way, I do believe that God's designed us for a purpose and a mission. And I know that when I look my Creator in His heavenly face, I just want to make sure that I can say, I left it all out there for you. And so that's kind of the drive for me, getting up, discipline. Let's be the best you can be today. Hey, if you fall a little bit short, well, tomorrow let's hit reset and let's do it again. And so that's kind of like the driving force for me.
When I
So
think
good.
of you, Adam, it's such a great description you just gave, because to me, you epitomize stewardship. I think each one of us in our lives, we have our calling, our assignment, our purpose, and we will at some point stand before our Creator and give account how we stewarded what we had, the good and the bad. We all have things we'd give back in a heartbeat, that we were sad we got it, whether it's our upbringing or our faults or mistakes we've made. But when I look at your life, I see you, that's your aim to me, is not to be the greatest athlete in the world, but to be a faithful steward. And you do it as a husband, as a dad, as a player, now as a pastor for many years, even working with the New York Jets as the chaplain of the team. I mean, you are a faithful steward, and it's amazing how much success comes, not because we are the greatest, but because we wake up with a sense of stewardship. And that's how I look at your life.
Yeah,
No,
I do too.
so great.
Tony, Pastor Adam calls you TA. All right. So, and you call him PA. So it's like Pa and Ta.
That's
So,
it, man. That's it.
so you guys have paid a price to do what you do. You're a professional football player. You're on the front end of it. He's retired. He's out of that now, but he's a good mentor. And tell us about the price that you paid to be a professional athlete. Maybe go back into your upbringing or something like that.
Before you even go on, TA, I just want to hope this is okay.
It's okay.
I got to tell you, so Tony came to our team last year, and this guy was just faithful, kept showing up for Bible studies. And I just remember he was just kind of like soft-spoken, but very like disciplined, in his Bible and stuff like that. And then I saw this guy play on the field and just like to knock people's head off out there. And I was like, all right, who is this guy? And so that's why sometimes he's Tony, but then sometimes he's TA. So
Hey, that's something else.
anyways,
Yeah. Okay.
man.
So he
But,
can't be Tony the Tiger, huh?
Yeah. But this guy's got a great story.
Yeah. And I feel like the price you pay as an athlete, like you sacrifice. Growing up, you sacrifice relationships, friends. The friends you grew up with, they were more talented than you growing up, but they chose other paths. They chose like the streets. They chose girls, and they chose everything else, drugs. And you just always stay focused because you wanted something more. My thing was I always wanted more in life. Like I would see like how my father then was living. My mother, she lived decent, but I wanted more in life. And like as life went on, like I would just get around different circles of people, and I see they have a little bit more. They have a little bit more. Well, what else can I get? I want this, and then I get around this group of people. I want this, like, and then like one day my friend took me to a neighborhood, riding around looking at mansions, and I was like, "This is how I want to live. Like I want to live like this, and it's possible." So for me, it was like not seeing life as it is, but always sacrificing, because the simple fact, like, I got this dream, I got this vision in my head.
Man, this is so inspiring. I mean, this is like such a things that I read on culture and wealth and things like that. And they say that in developing or underdeveloped countries, that wealth is what is. They fight over the land. They fight over the production. They fight over the what's in the ground, those kind of things. But in a developing nation, wealth is about what is coming, what it is to be, what can be done. And that's exactly what you saw, something, and then you got a vision. And that changes everything, doesn't it? You get it's a whole new perspective. And a lot of people just stay there. They stay there. What do you think is in an environment like that? I know that my wife didn't grow up in an environment like that. I know that I was on the edge of that environment, not totally in it. I told one of my friends one day, and he grew up in a concrete jungle. You know, here we are in New York City. He grew up in a project, and we were comparing what the level of poverty we had growing up. And I said something about, I was at my house and I was in the back lawn. And he said, wait a minute, you had a lawn? I said, you're not in this category, you know?
Yeah, most definitely.
And so you saw something, it inspired you, and then you paid the price.
Yeah, for sure. And it just wasn't me, so I can't take all the credit. It was my mother, my father, because I kind of had the best of both worlds. See, my mother exactly didn't live in poverty. She lived like on the edge. My father, East St. Louis, Illinois, it was a lot going on. And I was able to see the best of both worlds with that. And they sent me to school, off to this privileged school, St. Louis University High. And I was able to see more. I was able to see rich families.
Did they send you there for football?
I went there. I was actually playing basketball there.
Okay, yeah, that's right. You were a good basketball player.
I was decent. I was all right.
No, you were good. You were good, but then something happened.
Yeah, I wasn't growing no more, so I was like, we got to try something new.
There it is, and it's amazing. Like, at your height, you're a safety, and you don't have to be tall. You just have to be fast. And that's like Darryl Green is a good friend of ours, and he was one of the fastest men in the world, and an incredible athlete, and I'm sure you got what it takes. So let's go back to paying the price for you, Pastor Adam. Now, man, I walked in to your living room one time. You were playing for the Atlanta Thrashers, and I met you when you were playing for the Carolina Hurricanes. I remember you I was in Philadelphia with you some when you were playing for the Philadelphia Flyers. Very, very iconic hockey team, Philadelphia was. Carolina was new. And then your wife told me that you took a puck in the face. And she said, he's home. He won't be back out on the ice for probably a month or something like that. And you had already had plates in your face and screws. And how many plates and how many screws are in your body right now?
So I will get to it, but you did breeze over the fact that, so Ron and I met in Carolina with the Carolina Hurricanes, but he neglected to say that I was with the Hartford Whalers. We were playing up in Hartford, Connecticut. And then Ron began to pray, felt a prompting from God that God wanted to do something like in the sporting world through his ministry. And so quite literally, our team relocated from Hartford to Carolina. So it's this man, if you're a Caniac, if you like the Carolina Hurricanes, it's this man's prayer that kind of moved an entire organization. So thanks for that, man. And
I thank you for that exaggeration, but I did pray. I did, because I read about it in the newspaper.
Yes, that's
right.
And
I was just like reading the newspaper, and this can happen to anyone. You're reading something, just going about, and all of a sudden God interrupts. And I had this nudge to pray for this team. And it was almost like God was saying to me that I'll have a role with this team. Now, I'm not a hockey player. I'm not an athlete, none of that. But then all of a sudden, when God speaks, it doesn't matter. 1 plus God is a majority. And
I want to really drill that down to the average person listening or watching today. So that language of God speaks, or I felt the nudge, I think a lot of times we discount things that God's actually prompting us to do because it feels really natural. But the way you guys have described that story to me is that you saw that in the paper and you started getting the sense that that maybe I'll be involved with that, which was out of the blue because it wouldn't have been your natural thought. But then what action step did you take? Because I remember you called Adam. You had never met him. How'd you get his phone number?
Yeah, so it was through a mutual friend named John Blue, who was a hockey player for the Boston Bruins, and he said, "Hey, my friend Adam Burt is on the hockey team, and I just want to let you know that." It was just a random thing. I said, "Dude," I said, "I am praying for this team." As a matter of fact, one of the players, Curtis somebody.
Lysigian, probably?
That's him. Yeah, I can't pronounce his last.
Yeah.
What is like Hungarian or something.
Right.
Curtis Lysigian or whatever. So Curtis was my new neighbor.
Ah, that's right.
That then sparked that, and I didn't get to know him.
Lynette, did you know the backstory though?
No.
So I agreed to host a Bible study in my home, and so for the record, like, man, there's so many God-loving, God-fearing guys in the NFL. NHL is a little different. Like, so we actually had 5 people that were Christian athletes at the time, and that was rare. So we hosted this meeting at my home. And I remember just all hell was breaking loose in our home. I had little kids. They were blowing up. You know, my wife and I are arguing. You know, it's just everything that could go wrong is going wrong. And then I get a random phone call from this guy, some guy, Ron Lewis. I'm like, who is this?
Well, why did you answer?
So exactly.
What made you answer the phone?
Back then, we didn't have caller ID.
Right.
So you're like, I probably need to answer the phone.
I don't know who this Ron Lewis is. And he says, hey, you don't really know me. But he says, is there anything I can do to serve you? And I couldn't even be polite. I was so stressed out. I was like, yes, you can go to the airport. You can go pick up this person. You can go do this. And I just started ordering him around, doing all this stuff. And he was so gracious to do it. But that was like really the first time I really officially met you.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you did an airport run.
I don't remember exactly what I did, but he was bossing me around.
Yeah.
But since then, when he came to be on my team, I bossed him now for 20 years. So what goes around comes around.
Like a full circle.
Yeah, but anyway, it was an honor to serve Adam and his family, and we became great friends. It was, friendship is something that is, when you have it, it is like one of the richest blessings in the world. And that's what you became to me, and a friend more than anything. And so then you finished up your career not far from here at Madison Square Garden on 34th Street.
Yeah.
You finished your career there.
Yeah.
And then we were in touch on a regular basis, like maybe weekly or something like that. We were calling, talking. You were becoming a man of God, walking with Jesus, reading the Bible, and being just a good man. And then after that, we were talking about next steps. And I said, I really see something in you that you may not see for yourself, but I see that you could actually be a preacher and a pastor and a teacher.
Yeah.
Because you have a communication gift that's phenomenal.
And that was something that was like really fascinating. I'd be so curious to hear about UTAs, like, at least for my next stage, after going pro athlete and you retire at 33, you're like, oh, okay, what's next? You're still relatively young. But I did need somebody to look inside and say, hey, I see this in you and the things that you're blind to. And I think that's so important when we talk about having just kind of mentors and people. Sometimes we can be blind to, things that other people see as strengths in our life. And so I was wondering too, like considering your circumstances, man, did you have someone that go, hey, you can make this, or someone that believed in you? Or
growing up, my aunt died, and like her wishes to my cousin was like to look after me. You feel me? So he was always around the family. He was always around, making sure I was staying on the right track, things like that. And then right before I left high school, I had a head coach, and he was like, he pulled me to the side at a basketball game. He said, I'm gonna tell you something that I don't tell many people. He's like, you stay grounded, you stay disciplined, like you don't get in any trouble. I think one day you could be playing in the NFL.
Now, he was high school or college?
High school coach.
Now, that's so amazing. It's such the opposite of Michael Jordan's story. Like coaches said, man, you don't have a chance, like that. And that's a remarkable gift.
Yeah.
So did that put some air in your balloon?
It was like, maybe one day this thing could be real. And like, ever since then, we just stayed in contact. It was senior night in college. He walked me down. Like he like a father figure to me. Like I still talk to him every week or so, week and a half or so. We talk all the time. So
what a gift!
Yeah,
everybody needs like you say. Everybody needs a Paul, a Barnabas, and a Timothy. You want to elaborate on that?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's actually, I heard, I think it's Frank Shamrock. He's a UFC, champion, all retired now. But he was saying how, like, when he trains, you need to have a plus, a minus, and an equal. And so a plus means someone who's further ahead than you, and they challenge you and stretch you. And then he says sometimes you need someone that's below you, a minus, but then you have to think through training and teaching them, and you get back to your fundamentals. And then lastly, as an equal, just someone you can go toe to toe with and bounce stuff off of. And so I know I always appreciated like that, Ron, in our relationship. You always had kind of like, you were always that plus, but then I feel like you had the unique ability to go and make you feel like you're like peer-to-peer type thing.
Now, to be honest, I'm looking up to this man because he can teach and tell stories and preach that Bible like nobody's business. So I'm proud of who Adam has become. And obviously people are proud of you, Tony. And here you are in the NFL. You're a rookie. This is your beginning phase right now in your career. This is really a remarkable moment for you. I really appreciate you coming. I mean, most guys on the Jets, are too busy or whatever. You're taking time, and I know that you've put priority in place to spend time with God and do things like this to encourage people.
For sure. It's always about giving back. And big shout out to Pastor Adam for bringing me along here to talk to you guys. It's an honor to be here, and anything to give back. Like I've been waiting for a moment to give back my story, because you don't know who it'll inspire. I remember when I was a kid, I always wanted somebody to come back and, you feel me, like give to us, you feel me? So yeah.
Tell us.
Can I say, like, I'm in getting to know TA, like his story is so fascinating. And I feel like he's going to have a life message that's really going to help people in that. This guy, he was literally going through hell on earth. Like his world was unraveling. I don't want to tell you, I'm not going to tell your story, but then, he was the guy who just kept showing up. And next thing you know, you look back. So, dude, you got to tell the world, man, everything. When I heard his story, my mouth dropped. I'm like, people need to hear, everything that you've come through. And yeah.
We love to know.
We want to know. Tell us.
The world needs to know.
No, it's nothing crazy.
It's crazy, man.
Tell us the
Here's
crazy
the truth
parts.
monitor here. Pastor Adam's the truth monitor.
We got to hear it.
So I just started off in college. College, I lost a lot. I probably lost like 12 people close to me.
12 people close to you.
Like
12,
literally lost?
Like lost, like dead, gone, like never see them again. I was injured all the time, and you just fall in a deep, dark depression. And like, I remember my senior year thinking about it. I lost a close teammate to me. He died, like some complications with his respiratory system. And then I lost my grandmother, and that was like the icing on the cake. Because my grandmother lived with my father, so she basically raised me. When I wasn't at my mother's house, I was with my father and grandmother, and I lost her. I told my friends, like, I'm done with this football. It was days I woke up, I didn't want to wake up no more. So, but through all that, looking back now to where I'm at, it's a blessing. Like that pain, if you use it the right way, it could, I don't want to say this in a negative term, but it could create a monster. Like, yep. It is so much strength in your pain and your story and things like that. So
that's awesome.
I just let that be my driving factor now. Like,
what was going on for you, Tony, in that when you think about losing that many people, and we're so limited by our own thoughts in those moments, we can just go on a downward spiral. Laying there thinking, we're young, we've not seen enough life to know that it is going to get better and that we are going to get through. When you look back at that season, what one or two things made the difference for you?
I had a close friend that I told him, like, bro, this was my senior year. I'm like, I'm done with football. I'm hanging up the cleats, dog. Like, football was going bad. I still ain't dealt with like the tragedy. I'm really not talking to people. I live alone, so I'm just sitting. Like, when I'm not at practice, I'm sitting in the dark. I'm like, I'm done, dog. And then he kind of just reminded me, bro, you so good at this. Like, you could do anything. You feel what I'm saying? Like,
who said that to you?
It was a friend his name was Daylay Harding, an old teammate. and he
This is
just
high school or college?
college.
So that word right there puts you on a new trajectory.
Yeah, it was like, all right, it's time to fight back. Like it's time to fight back. And so I fought back that season. The season didn't go as well as I wanted to. And I didn't know, I was like, well, I'm gonna try to get to the league now. I told myself in college I would get to the league because I saw my father, my grandmother struggling. It was like kind of a promise to me to get to the league to help them. But my grandmother died, so I felt like I still gotta keep that promise. So I didn't know I was gonna get a shot at the NFL. I went down and trained in Florida. I'm not talking to no NFL team, so it's kind of hard. But I'm with these guys who's supposed to be these NFL prospects, and I'm like, I'm moving better than them. I'm running faster than them. I'm jumping higher than them. Like, I could do this. I'm better than these guys. Like, now all I need is the opportunity. So just to keep my spirits up, I was reading about David's life, and like I was while trying to draw strength from my story, writing like what's going on in my head, and like trying to grow from my pain, I was also growing strength from like David's story. And like maybe like when David was out in the fields and he was isolated from everybody, maybe that was God grooming him. So I was thinking about my pain, my story. Like maybe that was God grooming me for times like this when it was gonna be hard, when you gotta keep fighting because what you want is at stake. So tested really well, had crazy numbers, and now I think I'm gonna get drafted. Like I think I'm gonna get my name called. So that was kind of crazy. And then I had a draft party, everything. Didn't hear my name called. So
wow. So stop there for a minute. So because we just watched the draft, it was going on like 2 weeks ago, and they were broadcasting it on ESPN. And my little girls that are 9 years old, we love the Jets because we live in New York, and we're watching this thing. It's fascinating, and these people sitting there with their family and their friends. And you say you had a party, so I want to picture what this is like. So you have a party ready, which you hope is going to be a hooray celebration party.
right. Like,
Right? Where are you all? Where is this going on?
We in St. Louis, Missouri, in my old high school. My old high school coach, he got the gym ready, and
Wow.
I just felt like this was gonna be over the hump. I remember the night before, like I wrote a letter to I called him like my big brother. It was one of my old high school teammates who passed away my freshman year of college, and I was like, bro, we finally made it. We here. We finna hear our name called. And then it was like the biggest disappointment ever. Like,
what did you do in that moment, Tony? Because those are the catalyst moments. And every one of us, everyone watching, listening right now, every one of us in this room, everyone's going to have a moment like that where our hopes are gone. Like it looks like we've been crazy to even believe. You feel embarrassed or full of shame, like I wanted too much, I should have known better. I mean, what's that moment like for you?
It was honestly embarrassing. I feel like I got my hopes up for this thing, and it all been let down. But in that moment, the crazy part about it, Marquand Manuel, the DB coach for the Jets, he called me in the fifth. It was like, we don't have no more picks. I kind of say this God because I wanted it to go this way, but God had a whole nother plan for me. Because Marquand called me, he called me in the fifth, like, we don't have no more picks, but I pray you get drafted. He literally told me this. I pray and hope you get drafted, but if you don't, here go 8 names. These all the safeties here that are here. And if you think you're good enough, come here and compete for it. So it was like God already lined up what was about to happen, but I thought it was other plans. So
what was that when he says come here and compete? So you're not drafted, but you can still come in?
Yeah. So when you go undrafted, it's like being in college again. Like you got all these offers and you got to choose. So for me, it came down to 4. Minnesota, the Vikings, the Jets, San Francisco, and the Giants. So Minnesota, my agent thought that was the best thing ever. They was offering me a lot of money. Come there, play nickel. My agents, them thought I was a good nickel. I could play nickel, but okay. Then we had the New York Giants. My head coach at Illinois told me, I think this would be a perfect fit. This would be a great fit for you. I think you need to go to the Giants. But it was me and one of my old coaches at Illinois who I'm really close with, who brought me to Christ. We super close. He played in the league for 12 years.
Wow.
And so we decided like it's between San Francisco and the Jets because we love the scheme. We knew what Coach Sala them did at San Francisco. We knew this like the system, the zone system. And I come from an old Tampa 2 system. And there's some like nerd football talk right here. I come from a Tampa 2 system.
I just nod my head like I know what he's talking about.
Do you know about the Tampa 2?
Yeah, so I come from the Tampa 2 tree. Like, so like eyes on the quarterback. So we narrowed it down between them two. And then we were like, he told me that, well, San Francisco drafted somebody in the 3rd last year. So he gonna get first rights at the job. We know the Jets have 8 safeties over here, but we could go compete and we could take somebody's job. So we was like, we gonna go with the Jets. And I stayed at Illinois my senior year because I was scared to branch out this time. Sure. I told my head coach, I was like, I'm choosing faith over fear this time. I'm going to New York. Like,
wow.
After he told me, don't go. Yeah.
So he's telling you don't go.
Right, because he want to look out for me. He wanted me to go to the Giants.
And isn't that a common experience when you're stepping out in faith and you're trying to make a bold move, and there will be even people close to us who are naysayers or who aren't sure it's the right thing. But you had the conviction. And so you come to New York, and what happens next? You're trying out.
I'm here. I skipped rookie minicamp, but I'm here, and it's 8. It's 7 other safeties in the room. I'm 8th on the depth chart. I'm last on the depth chart. And it's a grind every day. You're not getting reps, so you got to find a way to steal reps. But I had an angel in my life. I had 2. I had great people around me, and I call them angels because I feel like God put them in my life for a reason. Good. I had Marquand Manuel. The whole Jets organization, the whole staff was great. And then I had my mentor, Coach Burt. And like Coach Burt taught me in college, when you don't get reps, it's ways to steal reps. Stand on the side and go through it.
And what's rep? Tell the rest of the world, that, like me, who don't know all the terms. What does this mean, reps? Reps
is like you out there. So like we're doing walkthroughs and you basically getting the rep, like you're in position, you're going where you need to be to, so when you go live, you can make the plays. So like while they were doing that, I'll be in the back acting like I'm in the play, like using my imagination, the thing that got me this far. So it kind of like, it was a blessing. It was a blessing.
So you made the team.
Yes, sir. I made the 53-man roster.
That's what you were looking for.
Well, and what you just said, I'm using my imagination, the power of imagination. In essence, I am telling myself, I can be on this team. You can't control anybody else. You can't get them out of your way, but you can control what your thought is in that moment.
I think we got to highlight the fact that, I mean, you came through the darkest season and here's what, man, like just getting to know you, just admiring how it's just, you just keep showing up. Despite it's dark, you don't see light at the end of the tunnel, and yet still you just keep showing up. And I think this might be, great for your audience is whether maybe you can't relate to pro sports or stuff like that, but everyone can relate to adversity and struggles, and it looks impossible. There's no way out, no way forward. And that's just a kind of a daily, occurrence in sports and stuff, but you keep showing up, keep getting up, keep going. And eventually you start breaking through. But if you quit, right? Like, I mean, you had how many opportunities to quit and throw it in? And I'm always inspired by this guy, Jim Corbett. He was actually the second ever heavyweight champion of the world in boxing. And but get this. So he to win the championship, he fought a 21 round match. So for the record, like a syndicated boxing match is they stop it at 12 now. He fought 21 rounds, but he had a poem, and it just says this. He just talks about you can go one more round. You can go one more round, and I've always taken that in my own life. It's kind of like I pray it every morning. I'm like, hey man, I can go one more round. I can go one more day. I can go one more rep. I can go one more year. I can go one more hour, right? And
that's
so,
right.
Yeah, I think that's a mindset for people. Hey, you might not have the big picture, but man, you can do one more. You can do one more, and another one, and then another one.
That's excellent, and sometimes it's one more minute. In life, like your hockey game, the 8 hour incredible hockey game. So you know what comes to me, Tony, just thinking about your story. And I'm so glad you're here, because now we're in the raw. We're down at ground zero here, watching a miracle happen in your life and the development. And here you are talking about David. You're talking about King David, the man in the Bible, one of the great kings and prophets of Scripture is David. And when Samuel came to before God said, I want you to anoint the next king in the house of Jesse. And so when Samuel went to Jesse, he said, bring out your sons. And he started bringing them out one at a time, probably 8 of them. There were probably 8 safeties in Jesse's family.
Yeah.
And one after the other, Samuel said, no, that's not him. And Jesse would say, well, that's my biggest boy. And this is my bravest boy, or this is my smartest. And he didn't even bring out David until Samuel said, well, isn't there one more? Now, there's a theory, and I don't know if it's true. There's a theory that David was actually an illegitimate child. And so he wasn't recognized by the dad. It was clear that the dad was a little bit distant from David. There's something there to be. We didn't prepare for this moment to talk about this, and we could probably dig out some realities there. But in the end, it doesn't matter, how smart you are, how brave you are, how bad you are, how tall you are, or whatever. What matters is God with you? And if God is with you, God plus 1 is a majority, and he has given you that space. He gave it to David, which was a great surprise to everyone. I mean, here's this little kid out there in the wilderness fighting lions, fighting bears. I mean, no one's looking at him except God. And to get the Psalms, I'm sure you read a bunch of the Psalms. This morning I was reading Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. I shall not lack. I'll have everything I need because the Lord is my shepherd. So you have a great story here, and it's just in the front end. Like Pastor Adam and I we've passed on our stories, and we still have some fight left in us. I don't want to fight him, but and he doesn't want to fight. He has a good story about fighting with Wayne Gretzky. It's one of my favorite stories where Wayne Gretzky is 5'7".
We should say it was funny. We should stress that they have a website that says like how many fights you have. And so
the NHL.
And the internet said I had 95 fights in my NHL career, and it also said that I won 5 of them.
They got you messed up, Pastor. They got you messed up, man.
So I was willing. I just wasn't very good at it.
But wait a second, you didn't lose 90 fights. Right. They had a bunch of shots.
I'm telling you, that's what they.
I
appreciate you're in my corner, though. I feel that.
Well, I'm totally in your corner. 90 of them were draws.
But we did have. This is one of the draws or the did not fight, but Wayne Gretzky, and for those of us listening, if you don't know Wayne Gretzky, I can't help you, all right? But Wayne Gretzky is probably the greatest
most famous
hockey
player ever, right?
And it was my rookie season, and we were playing against the Los Angeles Kings, and we were playing, and then a 5-on-5 fight broke out. So what that means is everybody matches up with the opponent, and you grab on, and then you either watch fights that are currently going on, or you just start participating. And so I had Wayne Gretzky, and for those of you who don't know, like Wayne Gretzky, he's not a big guy. He's small. And I just thought, this looks really bad with me with a smaller guy. So I pushed him away and I'm like, hey, Wayne, I don't want you. You're too small. And I went to go get somebody else. And then he grabbed me and says, no, just stay here. We'll just watch. And so then my mind's going, I'm like, I'm with Wayne Gretzky, man. I was like, hey, man, will you sign my stick after the game? So
that's tough.
Yeah.
You got a lot of good stories, Adam. You really do. A lot of great stories. So you want to tell the bloodiest one ever where you got hit in the face and that was a tough one?
You started telling the story about when that puck hit your face.
Yeah.
And now you're in a hospital.
Yeah, actually, I was actually talking to the guy that hit you in the face. So you had two really big ones. And go ahead. Which one do you want to tell?
Well, yeah, I guess that's my lineage here from the NHL career. It's just like scars and stuff like that. But I will I got hit with a left. I should have ducked Rick Tocchet, who's currently coaching the Vancouver Canucks. He hit me with a left and shattered the left side of my face. So I got like 8 plates and 13 screws over here. And then I got hit with a slap shot in the face from a Carolina
Hurricane.
Go
back to the one where he hit you because you went into the penalty box.
Yeah.
And they give you a towel and you were blowing your nose to get the blood out.
Yeah.
What happened?
So for those of you that are not familiar, so you dropped the gloves and we were fighting, and Rick's much tougher than I am. And so as I was swinging with him, I'm thinking, I'm doing really good this fight. And next thing you know, he switches hands and he just hit me with the left and blew up the left side of my face. So as, call it ego, I just don't want him to see that I'm bleeding and stuff like that. So I'm kind of like, and then I get to the penalty box and just go to blow and the left side of my face exploded. And so 5 hours of surgery later, but on the way when they were wheeling me into the surgery, they did ask me for the nurses. I got a couple autographed hockey cards they wanted me to sign. So anyways.
That's
okay,
amazing.
then the puck to your face.
But but honestly, like pertinent to this conversation is kind of like I've had 5 back surgeries. I had a knee reconstruction. My for the viewing audience, my pinky won't go straight, and so but there's all kinds of like injuries and things that we all have to overcome in life.
Yeah.
And, what's amazing, and I don't know if you see this, Tia. I see a couple good scars on you. Is what for me, like this is a trophy now. Like the things that we've overcome, like our old wounds, injuries and stuff. For me, I look back and I'm like, man, this is a trophy. Like I was in the fight. And I think for so many people, man, that the thing you're in right now, I promise you, if you just stay at it and keep going later on, it'll be the trophy that you celebrate the fact that I overcame that in my life.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
And it gives you authority. I mean, here you are, Tony, you're young, you're still a rookie in the NFL, but your experiences and your overcoming, your story of how you pressed through, that you came to the NFL differently than what you thought. We all want, and I've had a long career professionally. I spent most of my career looking for that one mentor, that one boss that would tell me how great I was, that they'd open every door for me, that they'd give me the promotions and the bonuses and all that. And for me, it wasn't like that. I had to push my way in and almost invite myself to the table. And that's what I hear when you're talking. So you show up now, you're having to actually be confident enough to think you can beat out someone that did get drafted or did get picked. But now here you are. And it'd be so easy for people to look at you and think you had the big breaks. You were the superstar all along the way. And to hear your story now gives hope to anybody else to say, don't let that put you back.
For sure. And again, shout out to Pastor Adam, because this wouldn't be possible if he didn't bring me here. And if the season didn't go the way it go, this probably wouldn't be possible. Because for a while I wasn't playing so good. And man,
Or you got a lot of people who are pulling for you right now. And we believe that God has raised you up to break every mold, to break all the percentages. I mean, the fact that you made it to the NFL is like, whatever the odds are, it's like one in like a 200,000 or whatever the number is. Like, it's ridiculous. I've heard NFL athletes tell me how extraordinarily rare it is to make it to that level. And here you've made it in where you're in the door now.
Yeah.
And every hour counts for you. Every day, every day. And there's one thing I want to mention is that you told me that you're here where a lot of the other guys are taking it easy. They're down at the Caribbean, whatever, and you're in the training every day. And that's what I think is the difference maker, is somebody who not just deals with it mentally, but they're also pushing themselves to go to the next level, because everything in the NFL matters. You can lift 1 more pound or 2 more reps, or it's just down in the micro part. And you've taught me this, Pastor Adam. You've taught me this, and this is like critically important time for you. And now you got a whole bunch of people cheering for you and expecting and believing with you that God is going to be with you to take you to the next level.
Thank you 1,000%. And God is on my side, and it's only right that I give back this story, because it's somebody that's going through what I went through, or even worse, that feel like they can't come out that dark place, or feel like they can't overcome their circumstances or what they're going through. And I just pray that anyone listening to this is like, it's possible. Like, it's possible.
Tony, when you know, even though you're in now and you're in the NFL and you're playing, and I'm sure, like you said, you had a rough start or you had a rough year. I'm sure, you know, we all look at the fans cheering for everybody in the game, especially when you win the game. But what is that like, even on a weekly basis, when you're in your season and you know so much rides on every performance? People are scrutinizing you. They're judging you. You get into that team meeting after a game, and I'm sure you hear all kinds of criticism.
Yeah.
What's that like in those moments? How do you deal with that?
And that's what brings me to meeting Pastor Adam. I was playing bad. I got inactive, and they was like, we just gonna develop you. And during that time, at first I was mad, but I really took it as it's time to grow. And shout out to our player engagement person, Bryce Bevel. I hope I said his name right. Yeah. He told me you should go to Bible study, and me and him would get in the Word. And that's where I met Pastor Adam, Pastor Chino, and just the way they preached. And it was also good hearing Pastor Adam talk, because the simple fact of he did it. He played at the highest level, and he had God in his life while doing it. So I was like, I want to be like that.
Wow.
I want to be like that. So I grew spiritually, and that helped me handle the good days and the bad days, knowing God is with me in both, and just understanding that everything that happens in your life is for your good. It's just all about your perspective, how you see it. So those bad days where I would dread the mistakes, I would see them as learning lessons. Okay, I can learn from this. So the next practice, I'll make it up, and I'll go even harder, because I'm doing everything for Christ. So I just saw myself getting better and better and better. And then when it was time to hit the field again, I was this quiet guy off the field, but like Pastor Adam say, when you get on the field, you're just going so hard for Christ.
It's great, man.
Yeah.
And here's what I love too, that I love you giving shout out. I know this is not necessarily a spiritual program, but I'm a pastor, so you guys got to expect as much. So, and I just hope everyone hears him seeing, man, he's going back to the scriptures, and it's just amazing. And honestly, I feel like so many of our self-help books and books that help you excel, they're basically just ripping off kind of these biblical principles. Right. You know, it's like whatever you do it heartily as for the Lord, forgetting what's behind. There's all these different things, and so, man, I want to encourage you. You want to win in life? open up the oldest book that there is, and open up your Bible. Yeah,
that's powerful.
So you know what I see in both of you guys, and we're starting to come to our close here, but I wish we could spend 3 or 4 more. I wish we could do the Joe Rogan moment and have 4 or 5 hours, right? Without the weed, okay? So, but and that is, I'm thinking about the word calling, and I saw Adam years ago, and I started thinking he's called. I mean, I was called of God. I'm older than I don't look older. No, I'm just kidding.
By the way, for the audience, he's considerably older than that.
That's right. That's true. But the idea, so the concept of calling hit me as a college student. I was in my dorm room. I was reading the Bible, and everything that I was reading is about somebody going out and preaching the good news of Jesus. And I got this, okay, I guess I'm not going to be a psychotherapist. I'm not going to go to graduate school for the things that I thought I was getting into. And God put me on a new course. And then when I met Adam, I began to see quickly that he has a gift, and his gift is communication. He's a communicator. Like, he would stand in front of the microphone after a game, and I was observing, like, the other guys who would do it, they would be like bumbling around and like, well, something happened. It's like they didn't want to be there. This guy gets up there and fluidly answers questions professionally. It's like he should be the guy in the talk show host. He's gifted. And then I thought one day I'm going to take him out with me where I'm going to be speaking at an event. And I said, I'm going to take you with me and you're going to speak. Yeah. And it was like I threw him into Daniel's lion's den. He was so mad at me because I sort of pulled it upon him. And then I said, after he gave this message, I said, you're not done yet. You're going to now invite people to get to know Jesus. And we're going to do this here too. We're going to have a moment right now. And then he got mad at me again because his life was so much about structure and preparation. That's his whole life, structure and preparation. But then all of a sudden, God wants us to get out of the box. And it's like when Jesus was out walking on the water, Peter and the disciples are in the boat, and there was one of those 12 who says, can I get out there and walk with you? And that's what both of you guys have done without even knowing what you've done. You have persevered to get into the NFL, just like walking on water. Pastor Adam, you've done this and shown it to be true in multiple scenarios in your life. You've done some amazing things and messages, and you do things and you don't even talk about it. He's so humble. He's too humble, So this is a big moment to celebrate your callings, and then I want you to share this, son. But like we go to the people who are watching. Many of them have these callings, and they need to recognize it.
Well, and to be clear too, calling supersedes profession, and that's what we see in both you guys. That you feel like for however long you're playing football, for however long you played hockey, there is a calling and an assignment that God puts on each of our lives that goes beyond our profession. And that's what makes whatever we do professionally actually really rewarding. Because when I know that this is a season I'm in at this job or in this stage, maybe you're a college student, maybe you're retired. And when we find identity in our profession, those days will be gone someday. But when we realize that our calling supersedes that, and I kept hearing that from you, Tony, when you said, I'm just so honored to share my story because it's your life, not your assignment right now even. It's not even your football career. That comes through when you're sharing your story. And we want to say that to those of you that are listening and watching today. The inspiration from our guests is how thoughts can change your life. And how the way you look at what you go through is what really determines where you'll end up in the end. And so we're glad that we can be a part of a discussion today that says there's more to your story than what's right now. And you can make it through. You can make those choices. Even if you regret the ones you've made, you can change your choices and you can change your life starting right now.
Lynette, can I flip the mic?
Please.
Because I just think the audience needs to know, because you're so good at this. I think a lot of people when they hear the word calling, they're like, well, like, how do I know, right? Or how do I know if I'm called to this or if this is, and I always thought, like, you're always so good with like purpose and calling and things like that. How, like, could you shed some light, like, for the audience, like how can people discern if, like, hey, I think I'm good at something or whatever? Do you understand my question?
Absolutely. Thanks for asking. I mean, it happened for me when I was working at Deloitte, which is one of the big accounting consulting firms in the world. And I kept thinking, my personal life wasn't going the way I thought. I was now getting into my 40s and I'm thinking there's got to be more than just a job. And I got really serious about figuring out what my life purpose was that went beyond the job description, beyond my career history, beyond my resume. And I developed a process that I used on myself. And now in the last 20 years, I've been using for people around the world, which is basically a simple tool to help you figure out what is your life purpose. We do it through a process. We'll have all the information here on the podcast and on my website. It's called My Why. And it's really about finding your why, because purpose answers the question, why? Why am I here in the world, at this work, in this season, in this hardship? Your purpose will supersede all of that and give you that answer to the big question, why? And here's the good news. God, our creator, put in each of us before we were born, his reason why.
Yep.
Why am I putting Tony Adams in the world for right now, and Adam Burt in the world for right now, and Ron and Lynette Lewis, and you who are watching and listening? There was a divine purpose in that decision. And when we tap into it, it changes everything. We can endure the hardest hard, the best of seasons. As one of the apostles in the scripture says, I have learned how to be content in all situations, because he knew what his calling was. And so thank you for asking, Pastor Adam. It's really makes a powerful difference.
For sure. And thank you, my sweetheart, for helping people to get to discover and know their purpose. And that's a fantastic contribution to the world.
Well, it's
sincerely.
my privilege.
So Pastor Adam, I want to close up now and just go back to you, because here you were you were in your early 30s when we met, or your late 20s. And here you are, a millionaire athlete, driving the finest BMWs around. And now you're driving like, what, a Ford or what? I don't know. But no, but you know, and you've handled your wealth, your marriage, you succeeded. I mean, whereas most professionals, they are bankrupt, and, you know, professional athletes, a lot of them just don't get the training or the grace to do what you've been able to do. But now you can look back and see the millionaires and the billionaires, and you work with them and you speak to them in the corporate world, team owners and all that. And what is your message? What is your message for them? And then your prayer for everybody.
So, do I understand the question, Ron? Like, so you're asking me, like, so what would I advise the millionaires?
The world out there who thinks they have everything. They think they've got think that they're completely safe, when eternity is a breath away.
Yeah. Well, anyway, like I definitely, you know, been there and done that, made my share of whatever money and whatnot, and you're not going to find it there. I love, we talked about, you know, Solomon in the Old Testament. He was kind of the richest man. He would make, you know, Bezos and them look like a pauper. And yet at the end of the day, he just says, it's all vanity. It's all vanity. And he says, there's one thing that matters, and that's his relationship with God. And there's nothing else that you can cram into your soul, to your life, that'll fulfill like a relationship with God.
And you've introduced a lot of people to God who many of us can never reach, whether it's athletes or, you know, like I said, corporate leaders or whatever. And I want you to look into the camera and see the need there. And people are watching you now, and they want to know, what can I do to be changed?
Yeah. So listen, I want to say this, that for those of you that are viewing or listening, that I truly believe there are no accidents, that whether you're running on a treadmill or driving in your car or whatever, this is actually a God-ordained moment. Like he's seen this throughout eternity. And I believe, you know, you if you'd like to have a relationship with God, all you simply have to do is ask, right? If you were just to ask God, show yourself to me, come into my heart and be my Lord, that I believe that's a faithful prayer that God will answer. And then I would just say this as well, just be on the lookout for the tokens of the goodness of God all around your life, because God is good, and he wants to show you good things that he has for you in your life. And so that would be my prayer and my advice to anyone listening.
All right. Well, today is the day of salvation, and all you have to do is just ask right now, just right where you are, just cry out and say, God, I'm yours. I want to know you. I want to know your son, Jesus Christ. I want to be with you and spend an eternity with you. So you just pray that prayer. We have information here for those who are watching. We have information here on the screen, and we want to be your friend to help you to get to know God, grow together, live on purpose, discover who you are, and to make a difference in this world. So you can find Pastor Adam at Every Nation, New Jersey. There's Every Nation, New York City. And we are here to serve you. If you're in the region here, thank God for you. And we'll do whatever we can do to help empower you to be the servant that God wants you to be. And Tony, rich moment hearing your story, being with you. Guys, great day. Adam, always a great time with you. Thank you for making my world just feel a lot better. Appreciate that so much. Thanks for being on the team here.
Thank you guys for having us. And remember, you can root for the Giants, but you got to pray for the Jets. Right?
That's it.
All right.
It's great. Glad you joined us. We'll see you next time.